first up is Judith Corley-Lay. She'll talk on the research roadmap update. Judith Corley-Lay is the director of the National Center for Pavement Preservation.
Federal Highway Administration, as part of the Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group, got the message very clearly that the research roadmap needed to be updated. So they have been funding an effort to do that. The team for this is of course, Federal Highway Administration has the contract manager position, Antonio Nieves. I want you to know that Antonio and I have worked together over a period of 25 years. So it's funny, you work with somebody when you're in an agency in one capacity, and then you retire and you end up, and you say, oh my gosh, I didn't think I'd ever see the same people again. And there are many people in the audience that I've known from my former life as well. Steve Trish with Iowa State University is the PI. I am the technical lead. And then under me, John Hooks, John O'Doherty are both with the National Center for Pavement Preservation, and Larry Schofield is helping out in the area of concrete preservation. Anybody who knows Larry knows he's also free with opinions on anything else that comes up as well. So the approach for this was to develop some umbrella topics. We took the topic of pavement preservation and said, okay, what are the key pieces of that? Did a literature review, which is standard fare for research. Did some comparisons about what's been going on in research up to 2013 and what's been going on since. 2013 was picked. It's around the time when the emphasis came out regarding pavement performance, the TAMPs and similar topics. For each of the umbrella topics, there was a go-to meeting that was, people from all over the country were invited to participate. And from those, we developed research needs statements for some of the most sought after topic areas yet to be done, the process for updating the roadmap moving forward. So here are the umbrella topics. I don't think you'll find any of these too shocking. The first one, asset management, pavement management systems, and pavement preservation. That's the planning piece. That's those 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plans. Treatment design, that includes treatment selection and mixed designs. Materials, I think everybody understands very clearly materials and their importance in our preservation programs. Treatment application and contracting, that includes the construction piece as well as the various types of contracts that are used for preservation. Performance is actually could be part of that asset management piece, but it's broken out because there were a lot of research needs identified that were about performance. How do you define performance and so forth? And finally, benefits. This is a new area that we added because listening to the state discussion this morning, that whole topic of how do we best express the benefit that we derive from doing preservation to our upper administration or to our legislature or to the average citizen or to the media. All of those, we have a lot of stakeholders as state DOT people. We are not lacking for people to call us up and ask, why the heck are you doing X, whatever it is. The literature review included almost 300 items, and I divided them up by the umbrella topics. And when that report finally is submitted, the references for each umbrella topic will be under that umbrella topic, so you don't have to go searching all over to find the particular reference you're looking for. I just thought this was interesting. Light green is the most recent information. The darker green is the older information, and, oh, I'm sorry, just the reverse. Prior to 2013, almost all of the preservation research, not all, but almost all of it, was in the materials area. How do we characterize the aggregates? How do we characterize emulsions? How do we, all those materials-related issues. Since 2013, and the development, when the word started getting out about the Federal Highway Administration emphasis on performance management and on transportation asset management plans, you can see the shift that has occurred to research in the area of asset management. Does that mean there is no research going on in the other areas? No, absolutely not. There's lots of work going on, and in fact, it is more uniformly distributed among those umbrella topics now than it was earlier. So I think that's a healthy distribution. All of the go-to meetings happened before, in the period leading up to the Christmas holidays. I finished them the week of December 6th or something close to that. There were one about every 2 weeks in that period. The first one was on asset management, pavement management systems, and pavement preservation. For each umbrella topic, I'm showing you 4 of the research needs titles that actually came out of that. Identification of cycle times. Someone this morning was talking about going to a more cyclic timing for some of their preservation treatments. This is, how do you identify those? When is the appropriate cycle time? Dealing with changing technologies. Every state agency has had to deal with that. We started out with manual distress surveys, and now many agencies are using the 3D high-resolution imaging and distress identification. Similarly, pavement management systems have been upgraded multiple times over career lifetimes. Methods of determine structural adequacy. Some of those are known, but which ones are best at the network level and how to implement those. And then case studies from experienced states. These would be the states that have had long-standing programs in pavement preservation. What did they learn? How did they implement? How did they sell the program? How did they tie it in with their pavement management system? Second group, treatment design, and I'm not going to read all of these for you, but you'll notice that some of these topics are new or relatively new in some areas of the country. Bonded concrete overlays on asphalt pavement have been pretty widely used in Iowa, in Missouri, and in other Midwest states. But what do you do at the end of their life? What is your next treatment? What is that option? Best practices in urban environments. I'm sure that Pennsylvania DOT, New Jersey DOT, you don't have to necessarily be in a city to have urban environment issues where traffic is over the top. There are lots of utilities and lots of issues that have to be addressed. And then cold in place, cold central plant, and hot in place recycling. Those are just examples in this treatment design, and that is treatment selection realm as well. Materials, increasing looks at recycled materials. That includes use of concrete, recycled crushed concrete in pavement preservation treatments. There was some work done using them in hot mix layers and in some concrete layers, but never in the thin surfacing. So that's a new topic area. Performance-based and performance-related specifications, that allows you to consider all of the additives, all of the new materials that are coming down the road, because you're looking at what is going to be the performance of the material, not the specifications related to the material properties. I'm not going to read those all to you. I hope you'll see some things that are of interest. Treatment application and contracting, this is the construction piece. Use of indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts for preservation projects. Had some interest in evaluation of bid price versus quantity. Related to that, but not directly, I would include in there the impact of only limited competition on that bidding aspect as well. I mentioned that this morning, that there are areas of the country where they're having one bidder on many, many projects, so that is an issue. Guidelines for identifying what is adequate training for inspectors. There's work that needs to be done. That was also a topic in your agency-only discussions. And then use of warranties. Performance. The one that comes to mind, and I think the one we all hope is going to be answered by NCAT and MinRoad, is the impact of pre-treatment condition on the performance of preservation treatments. But before we put all our eggs in that basket and hope that they turn a crank and the magic information comes out, we do need to keep in mind that those NCAT and MinRoad test sections are very short, and the length of the segments that we use in a pavement management system do not necessarily correlate with those very short segments. So there's probably going to have to be some sort of a bridging between that very local test section work and what we actually deal with in a pavement management system. The last one is one of my favorites, and that is when we've done surveys, and there have been many surveys asking states, how long does a chip seal last in your state? Today and this morning we heard some of the ugly truth that those numbers that we read are not necessarily the on-the-ground reality. Well, we all know that range, you'll see that microsurfacing lasts anywhere from 2 to 15 years. So what do you do if you're a pavement designer and you've never used a microsurfacing, but somebody says, how long will it last? You average those two numbers and you guess, literally you guess, it's going to be 8 years or 9 years and all is good. What if that project that was 2 years, we eliminated it from the distribution because it didn't meet our criteria for what is preservation? Could we get a narrower range so that you have a better number to work with rather than guessing the average of a high and a low? Just, you can tell I was in pavement management. It's in my blood. The benefits column, this is, I mentioned a few things. The last one, communicating with stakeholders, best practices, that's for all the stakeholders. Improving definitions of costs between states. We've had several research projects, NCHRP, big research projects that concluded they could not compare costs because the way states defined the cost of individual treatments was too significantly different. What this project would do is define some very specific but calculable numbers that states can use to make those comparisons from state to state. Just so you don't think that the benefits are listed to those research projects, we came up with a whole bunch of others too. Noise reduction. Did you know in the Netherlands, noise reduction is the #1 performance criteria they have in pavement design? #1. Vibrations. Who would have thunk it? Believe it or not, the tomato industry has done a lot of research on the amount of vibration that a truck experiences relative to the health and beauty of their product when they're delivered to market. Think eggs. Think also some of the medical supply industry as well. So vibrations. I think these are pretty cool. In addition, as we were doing this development, I listed out some syntheses topics. What a synthesis is it's a state of practice. It is those projects that you get where they survey the states about what is your practice in a particular area. Well, these are very helpful to other states. I used them all the time when I was in North Carolina. So I've got 6 or 7 of them here. Capturing pavement preservation and maintenance activities in pavement management system construction history. Sounds like it would be easy. Turns out not so easy. Lots of little nuances there. Performance models that states have developed for preservation treatments. State and provincial design methodologies for thin surface treatments. We all thought that those had been collected by the emulsion task force. They had not. They did not have those. Let's get them together. They could be very useful to other agencies. And similarly, you can read these. Some of you are doing a lot of work with rubber in thin surface treatments. That is spreading pretty rapidly now across the country. I think the last time work was done, a synthesis on this topic, was about 20 years ago, maybe even 25, back when we had a you must use ground tire rubber mandate. It got very ugly. And then finally, agency approaches to pre-qualifying contractors for preservation work. Each one of those has been developed into an abbreviated research needs statement. This is a one-page, sometimes a page and a quarter, couldn't always make it fit. Little description, a little bit of background, and a little bit of information about what the contractor or the researcher would be expected to do. The goal of that was to allow prioritization. So the same people who participated in those roadmap go-to meetings will be asked to prioritize individual umbrella topics one at a time. Immediately after that, we'll be developing the recommendation for updating the roadmap. That is not an easy task. Each state has its own research program. There is not easy communication of what those projects are, especially down to the level of pavement preservation, to make sure that the updates reflect all the work that's done. It's easy to capture the TRB papers and the NCHRP reports, the Federal Highway Administration reports, but it's much harder to capture the state work. And finally, the contract includes development of a webinar. So that's the research roadmap. I hope you've heard something there that you say, yes, that's a topic that I would have liked to have seen. Thanks very much.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.